This is a Bulldog Radio podcast.
The Ferris State Bulldogs have upset the nation's #2 ranked team. Wide open! Taylor is going to take this one to the house! Touchdown Bulldogs!
Welcome back, everybody, to the most valuable sports podcast. Brandon Worth alongside Joe Nagy. Got a banger, another banger for you today, Joe. We got a fantastic special guest coming in the house.
Yes,
Courtney
sir.
McMillan will be joining us on the microphones. Good to have her, as well as a full Ferris State Sports recap over a crazy weekend, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, it's going to be a good episode. Can't wait. But without further ado, let's swing it to the interview.
Now joined in studio, Ferris State photographer Courtney McMillan is with us. Courtney, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Courtney, once again, thanks for coming on. First question for you. Ferris State sports photographer, what's that like? What's that like week to week, kind of going to sports? What's your favorite thing about it?
Honestly, it's awesome. I never would have thought I could be a photographer for college. So being able to do multiple sports is pretty fun. I've never been able to shoot as many sports. I'm usually can do basketball, softball, and volleyball. But being able to do hockey, football, all those different sports it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that come to photography. They love it for especially some certain aspects. What really drew you into taking photos and finding the fun in that first?
So I got my first camera when I was in 5th grade, and it was not the best of cameras, but that's what my mom bought me for my birthday, and I fell in love with it. I took that thing everywhere I went, all my siblings' sporting events. I just took random pictures. About, I think, 8th grade is when my dad bought me the camera I have now, and I've been in love with it since. So when I came here, I was like, yo, I really need to get into photography and keep doing it, and I didn't really know how to until I saw they posted the intern thing, I think last year, and I was I applied for it immediately.
Yeah, for sure.
Really cool.
Yeah, and especially with the intern group we have, it's super cool to be able to, hang out with everybody, especially see the work you do is really cool. But, speaking of, through high school, having that camera and stuff, what was that like kind of, did you take any for your high school and stuff like that, or what was that process like?
Yeah, so I did a lot of TV classes, and I also went to a career institute and did the same thing as well. I kind of felt in and out of love with photography. It was kind of just one of those things I either was obsessed with or I didn't really do, but I've always taken my siblings pictures. My family's oh, she's the family photographer, she takes all the nice pictures. So yeah,
and you rock with a Canon, right?
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I'm also a Canon guy. Joe is not.
I'm just a Nikon guy. Sorry.
Yeah, he's just crazy.
That's my family's computer. That's my family's camera. I can't help it.
No, I'm just kidding. But for sure, with sports photography, high action all the time. What are some of the keys that you need to be able to be successful in taking those crisp action shots?
Well, first is making sure you're positioned correctly on the field. I think the first football game, that was the most challenging because not only was I not positioned correctly on the field, but also the lights, having the night lights on, just really messed up the quality of my pictures, and I was so mad, so defeated. But then I was no, I just need to keep going, get more familiar, because before that was the first time I ever used my actual lens. So it was kind of a learning curve for me, but definitely being positioned in the right spot. And honestly, the mindset is you can't always get the good pictures. You're going to miss those action shots, or you're going to miss that goal. So that's kind of just the mindset I have going in.
Yeah, I think I heard a quote once about National Geographic. It's 3,000 to 1. You take 3,000 photos to get one perfect one. That just sounds crazy.
Yeah, no, I typically take anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 pictures, and I only about 50 of them, so it takes a while to look through.
Yeah, but those 50 though.
Yeah,
the 50 are pretty crisp.
They are pretty
crisp. What's especially with collegiate athletics, you're able to get your feet wet with a couple different sports. What's the difference, especially going from a sport like football, where you're kind of up close and personal, to hockey, where you're shooting through the glass and stuff like that, to soccer, where the action might be a little bit farther away?
Yeah, so Honestly, there isn't too much of a big difference. Football, obviously, you have to position yourself. If you see me, I'm always moving along the sidelines. Hockey, kind of stay in one spot because I kind of like to shoot where the goal is going. Same with soccer, I'll stay on one side. Honestly, the most challenging sport I've had to do so far is volleyball because they move so quick with the ball. So that has been the most challenging one. But other than that, the rest are just like kind of getting easier every time I do them.
Yeah, and I know there's sometimes a big controversy when it comes to photographers. Tripod or no?
So I have a tripod because I was like, when I got the lens, I realized the lens is 8 pounds. So I was like, oh,
Shoot.
I'm like,
You're gonna work out every time you take a picture.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, like how am I gonna do this and hold this for like a long period of time? So I got like one of those like monopods, and I tried it the first game, and I was like, nope, I don't like it at all. So I refuse to use it now, and I spent so much money on it, but I might use it in the long run, but I will not use a tripod. No.
Oh, okay, interesting. I've heard both. I've heard
you
both sides of the argument.
You got it in the back pocket though. That's the good thing about it.
Yeah,
you got it there. And especially, you know, what's it like kind of working for Robin Harrison? Especially, I mean, we know kind of our experiences with it, but especially with photography and, you know, getting kind of the creative freedom that they give you. Like, what's that kind of like, especially for your development as a photographer?
I love it, honestly. They're so like helpful, and like they'll tell me like you're doing a great job, and like very encouraging, and like they love what I post. And honestly, I love being able to just have my own creative freedom with it, because I feel like if I don't have that, then it doesn't turn out well. But they're just like, shoot whatever you want, get as many pictures as you can, and then obviously when they need pictures for their graphics, they're like, all right, tell me which ones you like the best. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah, that is super cool. And I mean, here at Ferris State, we have some really good photographers as well that you probably worked alongside of, like Kevin McDermott, as well as Ben Amato and Mr. Washington. What has it been like, your interaction with those guys? And have they come up and talk to you and like give you some advice on what to do?
Yeah, every time I see them, they always wave and say hi and like ask how I'm doing. But it's super cool being able to work alongside them. And honestly, working alongside like Will and Jeff, like I love working with them. Like they're so fun to hang out with and talk to, and see like their whole videos turn it into what they do is pretty awesome.
Yeah, they are. So they are very talented, I will say.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially for football, they used your pictures to, you know, debut the blackout jerseys at the start of the season. You know, what was that photo shoot kind of like to be? Was it kind of like mum's the word? You wanted to keep a secret as much as you could, or what was that like?
Yeah, so I attended a couple of the football camps before, and that's when I first met Harrison. He was like, hey, I have an idea, like, let's do it. And I was like, all right, let's run with it. And so he was kind of like, I'm letting you do it. Like, you tell him how to pose. And I was like, okay, like, I guess I'll tell him how to pose. So it was Major who was our model. And so I had pictures that I found online. I was like, okay, let's pose this, let's pose that. And I was like, okay, let's go on campus, let's take these. And honestly, they turned out pretty sick. Those are probably my favorite pictures I've ever taken.
Those were very
cool.
Those are
clean.
But that's cool though that you led that project. I was not aware of that. Was there any nervous going in, like, oh my goodness, this is the big debut everybody's been looking for?
Honestly, I wasn't nervous at all. I think I was a little nervous just because I did not know how Major would be around me, and he was a little awkward at times, but I think he got comfortable really quick. And I think Harrison chose the best person to do it, because if you know, a lot of them do love the picture, love the camera. Like, even when I went to football camps, they'd stop their practice and say, hey, take a picture of me right now. And I was like, okay, I will. So having Major there was like perfect, because he was like, yep, I'll do this, I'll do that. And he was like, oh, how about we do this? So it was like really nice to have like some feedback, but honestly, I was not nervous at all.
That's super cool.
For sure. What's been your favorite sport to photograph so far?
For women's, it's soccer. For men's, I would say probably hockey right now. I love doing football, but hockey right now it's super fun to take.
Yeah, it's probably a whole different experience. Do you have a GOAT photo you've ever taken of all time? As far as just Ferris, we'll go there. Now, it's probably too many to count from for all the previous years.
I would probably say, honestly, the hockey ones that I just did of them walking in with like their whole suits on, like those ones turned out super nice. I'd say for right now, that's probably my favorite pictures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those ones are pretty cool. It's right. They kind of, especially too, I mean, Beth did like the video of when they showed up, so it's kind of like a tandem thing about that. But, you know, what's it kind of like to be able to like experience the game, you know, be around the fans? Like, do you try to like take pictures of like the atmosphere and stuff like that, or just kind of the game?
Yeah, I do. So for football, I go out into the tailgate, and like I see a lot of my friends, so I'm like, hey, like, pose for this picture. Like, this is going to be like, we need pictures. But honestly, all you have to do is walk around that tailgate and hold your camera up, and people are instantly flocking to you and be like, take my picture, take my picture. And I also take like in-game pictures. Most of the time they don't know I'm taking them, but like I'll take pictures of the student section. I think at Grand Valley people had signs, so I took pictures of signs, and then someone wrote FSU on their like chest. So I was like, yes, I have to document that.
Yeah, that is super cool. Well, Courtney, it's been great. One last question for you. What's been your favorite thing about being here at Ferris State and being a Bulldog?
Probably all the friends that I've made and the opportunities. Like, there's so much opportunities in athletics, and I feel like a lot of people in our program don't realize that until they step into the athletics, and they're like, oh wow, like there's so much you can do. And honestly, I've made so many great friends through it.
That's awesome.
For sure. Courtney, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Joining us in the studio.
You're welcome.
Good luck with your photography. You've been able to kill it so far.
Thank you.
Big thanks to Courtney for stopping by. Great to hear all of the feedback and advice that she had. Certainly a cool story for her getting into the world of sports, and certainly does some great work.
Yeah, for sure. She kills it as a photographer, does some awesome work, and really happy to have her on the show. But Brandon, without further ado, we'll hop right into the Ferris State Sports Report. I'm thinking football, Brandon.
Let's go.
Let's get into it. Ferris State football traveled up to Northern Michigan, up in Marquette, to take on the Wildcats. Quick and easy 56-20 W. Willie had a sick video that he made up. If you haven't seen that yet, that was pretty clean. But just a clean win all around. Carson Golker is that guy. That's basically what it was. We were killing it first half.
Yeah, Carson Golker actually made a case to be QB1 even with Malik back. And I know that's crazy to say, but he was very good. 15 of 21 for 224, 2 touchdowns, as well as 14 attempts on the ground, 111 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was an absolute monster. They could not bring him down. He was incredible. And also,
he's him.
Jesse Rivera had a good game as well. Being able to see him play again was super cool. He had 84 yards passing, a touchdown, as well as 54 yards rushing on 10 attempts. Certainly a guy that you love to throw in there because he brings a whole different aspect with his arm. And, I mean, we saw Carson's arm a little bit too, so he can sling it around there. But the big plays were definitely back. We got a lot of them. The 19-yard passes started off on the first drive with Tyrese, as well as a couple runs. But the big drives, that was something that we hadn't seen quite as much of in volume, but you could tell this team was locked in offensively in that first half. Long drives, didn't matter how far to go. Like, we were scoring them from 70, at least 60, 70 yards. I think on the first, all 5 drives, we had at least over 65 yards on the drive and over 7 plays. That just shows you we're in for the grit. And I feel bad for Northern Michigan because they got an angry Bulldog team, and not everybody wants to see that.
And the tough part too is they had to travel 2 lowers to play Grand Valley. So like they've kind of been back to back, and that was like that's been the story for most of the teams in the GLIAC, which is tough for them. But hey, that's just how the cards are dealt. But it was a really good scene from everybody. I think football's Twitter tweeted out. I think Harrison tweeted out. Now that I can't remember if it was 500 yards or 5 touchdowns, but each starting quarterback under Anise in the Tony Anise era has had a 5-touchdown game.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous. He was great, and I think it just goes to show Coach Anise really has that eye for all these great, talented quarterbacks, and he knows exactly how to use them. And I think that's something that doesn't come around that often when you got a lot of great quarterback prospects, especially at the high levels. And if you look at Division I, I mean, you got a lot of talented guys, but if you don't know how to use them properly, then it becomes a much different difficult task. Yeah, so like Michigan, prime example, when we had Joe Milton. Joe Milton was a fantastic quarterback, but we didn't know how to use him right in our system. And that was just one of the things that was really hard to watch because the offense just didn't look the same. It looked a lot. It was just not the most accustomed Michigan football that they would want to run. And when it didn't work, it was very noticeable. And unfortunately, it was the end of cut ties with him. And I mean, he moved on to some better things as well in Tennessee. But I mean, you look at what Coach Anise and that group of offensive coaches have done, and the defense also played just as well. We don't want to shade any credit their way. They were getting after the quarterback, so I believe 4 sacks on the game as well. has a couple turnovers, 1 interception, and I believe we didn't have a forced fumble for the first time in I think 2 or 3 games. But it's definitely not a bad performance at all. I mean, the defense locked up. Yeah, I mean, they gave up only 20 points, 56-20. And really it was only in the second quarter when the game was really just kind of pretty much done by that point. I mean,
45 to 12 or so like that.
Yeah, it would have been 42. It would have been 42-14 at halftime. So it's whatever. But we responded from their first touchdown when it was 21-7, and then we made it 42-7, and then we gave up a big play before halftime, which those things you want to clean up, but obviously we're still getting back into it. This team definitely has a little bit different look since some of the injuries, so we're still figuring out some things, and they're trying out some things like putting Marcus Taylor in the backfield. They're letting that run for a little bit as well. As Des Libertus getting in a little bit at receiver, getting some reps there. So I think you have still a couple things that you want to change up, but overall I think this team's got a great future of the season coming ahead.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that is something I really look forward to. I think this game was not really a statement game by any means, but it was still kind of a bounce back because, coming off the loss, you go play Michigan Tech, don't have the greatest game, almost lose that one, it's 28-20. And then, you go into this game, there's a lot of not repercussions that can happen with this if you don't play well, but Grand Valley goes in, they put, I think it was 56 points up as well, but they hold them to 3, so you're trying to really match what they're able to do. Let them get 20, not the best thing, especially you want our defense to really play shutout ball, but 56-20 ain't bad. We really played pretty solid, but I think all around, if you look at it, there's a lot of positives from this game, a lot of negatives to look at too. But it's going to be good, especially going up against Davenport, which is going to be a top 15 matchup at Top Taggart Field this Saturday.
Davenport's balling a little bit, and they're coming to town 1 o'clock at Top Taggart on Saturday. Going to be a really fun football game.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
It's going to be fantastic. So we'll get all that information out. I believe tickets are on sale at the moment. I don't think they are. I don't think there's any special admission pricing or anything going on for students or whatever.
I don't think so.
But, it's free. So come rock the top with us.
Free is the best price. It's free $99.
It is. It's going to be a fun ride for sure. So we'll get to that.
I can't wait for that. That's going to be sick.
Yeah, we'll get to that preview later in the week as well as some of the other sports on deck. And those include hockey was in action this weekend. It was not the best weekend I'm sure that everybody was imagining. We would have liked to have
tough looks,
4-5-0 wins and sweep and move on, but it's hockey. And I think that this weekend really showed the nature of college hockey and how two-sided it can be.
Unpredictable.
Yeah, for sure. So got the win in overtime in the first night. The 3-2 was the final, and that one courtesy of Connor McGrath, as well as Cade Kowalski had a shorthanded goal. I don't know if you noticed that, Joe.
Mm-hmm,
Absolute snipe show. Top shelf.
That was a pretty snipe.
Ugh, just filthy.
It was pretty filthy, not going to lie. But, I don't know, these two games, even in the OT win, we did not play good. We were in the box all night.
Reading
off of, that is true. We got kind of shafted with what was going on with the refs. It was pretty one-sided in that affair. But second day, it was kind of more, it was a little bit more evened out. But anyways, especially reading off Bob Daniels' kind of, not attitude, but vibe after the game in the post-game press conference, not happy with the win.
Mm-hmm.
At least not happy with how we got the win. Especially against the St. Thomas team who lost. Their leading goal scorer to the transfer portal. They're a team that's still very new, don't have the most established culture or anything. You should be able to put 4 or 5 goals up against this team and hold them to 1 or 2, right? But there's just times where we let them really get set up in our offensive zone. Of course, we're shorthanded almost the whole game, which is kind of tough, but there's a lot of times where we come off the shorthand and we get even strength, but we still can't set it up. And also, our passing was pretty errant all weekend. There was times where we get set up, there could be a shot, but somebody just passed it from down low behind the net across, and our D-men were just out of reach of it, and that really just kills it. When that happens, there's all that momentum that you have, and then you just hit a wall and you got nothing. So then you got to restart. And our dump and chase is working a little bit more than it was last year, but still, we're kind of struggling, especially when not all of us are on the same page. There's many times, too, where we dumped in, 2 guys would kind of chase, and then the rest would just change off. And then it would be we got 2 on 5, and everybody else got to try to get to the offensive zone. It just doesn't work. So I think just getting on the same page offense-wise is the big deal, as well as staying out the box. We got Bemidji this weekend, which is going to be even tougher because they're a pretty good team.
They're a very good team, ranked 20th in the country. and really coming off of a big win against St. Cloud State, gave them their first loss. So that's going to be a tough one. But we have played spoiler against the Beavers before, if you remember last year, Joe.
We swept them at home last year.
That's correct. We did. We know we got the number on this team a little bit. But, yeah, I would agree. St. Thomas, I mean, first off, getting out of the box was near impossible. They had 14 total times where we were on the penalty kill. 14 times they were on the power play. That is unheard of in a lot of weekend stats. I think the biggest we had in a weekend was 9. And that was I think that would have been the Western Michigan Tech home back-to-back, where they had 9. But the biggest thing is we had, I think, 10 opportunities. We scored 3 of them. Not bad. I mean, maybe you'd want a little bit better ideally, but
we just gotta get shots off when we're on the power play.
Yeah,
that's one
I
thing
have
we
noticed
struggle
that.
with.
Yeah,
I feel like we just try to keep the puck in our possession in the offensive zone to the point where we're just trying to get the perfect shot off. Just let it rip, just get somebody in front of the goalie, screen him a little bit, and one of the D-men just let it rip. Try to get a rebound or something like that. And if he misses, then it's on the wingers to be able to kind of get the puck back and then pass it back up top. We need to at least begin like 4 or 5 shots of power play. We're averaging maybe 1, 2.
I would say like that, 2 to 3.
Yeah, if 3. I can't remember the last time I saw 3 shots on a power play. But especially when you look at Saturday, what do we outshoot them? We had like 30 shots to their 15 or something like that, 15 or 16.
Felt like it.
It was pretty lopsided. I know by the second period we had like close to 30 shots. I know that, but I don't know. It just was a tough look. I don't think we played our best offensive game. Defense was a little bit better, but it's just they scored a couple power play goals. It wasn't the best. I think they scored a shorthanded goal too, didn't they? Or they had a chance? I can't remember.
I believe they did. If I'm not, no, it was it shorthanded on that one? I'm thinking of that one goal.
Yeah,
that was in like the second period.
Saturday we had 36 shots.
Yes, to their 21. It was a 15 shot margin. But St. Thomas scored on 2 power plays. No, 3 power plays, technically, and the last one in the third. So they were 3 of 7. And that's, like, on the penalty kill, obviously, the night before we went 1 for 7, and you can tell that was the difference in the game because the guys, especially after just getting, it seemed like, battered at times in a very physical game that I really wasn't expecting, they really did a great job being resilient, and I think that was really huge. And it looked like we were the aggressors, especially in Game 2, which is definitely, I think, I wouldn't want to say like somewhere we're not used to being, but you could just tell that St. Thomas was very motivated after that loss last night, or not last, well, it would have been last night going into Saturday, and I mean, they played really well, like they wanted it, so I mean, that's just a tough one to drop, because we know we are a much better team than that, so it's going to be now prove it against Bemidji, and I'm really coming back home and being able to beat some of the teams before the break. I mean, it's going to be crucial more than ever going into that like Christmas week bye to be able to go with those punches and be able to deliver some ourselves.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty sick. I will say this, St. Thomas' coach is pretty cool.
Yeah?
He's a pretty nice guy. I wanted to go get starters from him, joked around with him a little bit.
Okay.
He's a pretty nice guy.
Yeah, we need more people like that.
Yeah.
In sports, so. Hockey.
There's a couple other coaches I could say that aren't very nice. I ain't going to name drop here.
Oh, we won't do that. Friday at 8 o'clock, Saturday at 7 o'clock. That's Eastern time, of course, since they're going across the pond for those start drops, or puck drops, I should say. And you can follow the live stats along as the game begins at VersaStateBulldogs.com. Anyway, moving over, soccer was in action yesterday, ironically, as we record this on this lovely Wednesday. And we're moving on. Beating Michigan Tech 3-1 the final in the CLIAC tournament quarterfinal. 1 o'clock start time, and we got the W by 3. And it was a really good game, I would say, just as far as back and forth. Michigan Tech certainly had some chances. We certainly had some chances. It was a pretty wild game. I think 30 shots total between the two teams. And you could definitely tell both teams knew that this could be the end. Right now, Ferris is sitting on the regional bubble, as according to what Coach Henson was mentioning in the post-game presser. And Michigan Tech, they needed to play to move on. They needed to win the tournament, really, to get a bid. But a lot of yellow cards in this game. I believe 2 each side. overall in this game. I mean, definitely a very physical game. But Avery Comartin got a start today in favor of Izzy Zamborini. She played really well. She got her first collegiate goal in the first 7 minutes, as well as Peyton Price and Bella Valoni getting her first collegiate goal later in the second half to close it out after Tech had a fortunate PK opportunity they were able to convert. But it was overall a really, really nice game overall for a lot of these players, especially some of them stepping up in the stat chart that haven't had their firsts in a while, and good time for first, Joe, especially when postseason play comes around.
Yeah, and that's what you like to see. Daria played pretty solid, faced 4 shots, did let a goal in, but I mean, like you said, PK, you can't really do much about it. But Lauren stepped up as well, facing 2 shots on goal, not letting any in. It was really good. I mean, Michigan Tech kind of came at us with a couple shots on goal, forced us out with, something our defense hasn't seen in a little bit, especially with Gliax. We've been able to hold, just shots to, a bare minimum, and shots on goal even less than that. So a little bit of a different change, but I think that's a good thing to see, especially this late in the season. Let our goalkeepers kind of still stay on their toes a little bit. It's going to be a big thing, especially as we go later on. But 17 shots, 8 on goal. That's what you like to see.
Yeah, it is.
It's efficiency. We did really well, 3 for 8 as well. That was on frame. That's what you like to see, man. That's just easy.
Yeah.
Easy money.
Easy money, I guess you could say. But yeah, I was very surprised that Coach Henson made that goalie change at halftime.
Yeah, a little bit too.
Yeah, to bring in Daria. They asked him in the post game, and he just said that was a personnel decision, and that they felt that was the best way for them to seal the game. So, I mean, they both played really well, I thought, in my mind. So it's good to have 2 very talented goalkeepers in the back of the net when needed. So, but definitely great games all the way around. I mean, just a lot of great moments for Bella and Avery to score. Katie Nesko also had 2 assists, as well as Avery Comartin and Nikki May adding an assist to Peyton Price's early second half goal for the Bulldogs, getting the 4-1 or the 3-1 win, excuse me. And now it's off to Allendale to face the Lakers officially as of last night. They cleaned house against Purdue Northwest. The score was 7-0. Brutal. But it's time. This is to be the 3rd game, and this one not going to end in a time this time.
This is what happened last year, right? I mean, it was the same thing. I mean, we tied. We tied
2 draws, yeah,
2 draws. So it's a rivalry game. Can't wait. I mean, our Grand Valley is the favorite going into it, but hey, we went to their place for the GLIAC championship, and we were able to win that thing. So that's what we're going to try to do here. It's the semifinals, so we'll hopefully be able to win that one and then bring it back and be able to play at home on Sunday. But gotta get through it. We'll talk more about it. Would it be tomorrow, since we're filming this or recording this a day late?
It'll be Thursday or Friday, just depending on when it gets posted. But we will get that out before the end of the week and action begins. So, moving over now to volleyball. Friday, Saturday action last week. We got 2 wins against Grand Valley and Purdue Northwest. Pretty good wins overall. I mean, Grand Valley game was awesome. That one ended up in 4 sets, and the 4th set was a barn burner. It was like 30-28 was that score. To finish that one out. Just slugfest. Both these teams, offensive firepower through the roof. I mean, just so much talent offensively from both these teams, and you saw it so many times going point for point with each other, especially down the stretch. I mean, in the end, just a little bit more efficiency and a little bit more grit on some of those big defensive plays late.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then I think with Purdue, that's a team that's still growing. They're still on the way. They're on the way up. I mean, they're still in their first year with their head coach and a lot of the new talent coming in for recruiting. So they're still kind of figuring it out a little bit.
There's a new culture they got to establish,
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go in with that rebuild, but I thought they played really well as far as like making plays, like keeping rallies alive. But our offense was just lights out from the night before, and seeing that carry over was absolutely huge, because there was a couple times where we had a couple games where we were sluggish in the second day, but this time we certainly seem to have played a lot better, and we hope that it continues that, because that's the way GLIAC is going to be. You're going to have to play the turnaround, and you're going to have to play hotter than the day before, so that's going to be absolutely crucial, but just really overall a lot of great things. I thought Cyan Fairfield as well as Claire Nowicki played very well. Emma Bleacher, Olivia Henneman-Delape, of course, played really well. Kaylee Mott, of course, winning setter of the week. I mean, it's just clockwork now.
Yeah, It's simple stuff. It's simple math.
Yeah.
Death, taxes, Kaylee might win the center of the week.
Yeah, as well.
Three absolutes.
As well as Fairfield getting, I think that might be her first or second honor of the season as far as GLIAC Player of the Week. Maybe first, maybe second. I'll have to double check on them. And then as well, Leah Violet, I thought, played really well from libero spot. She had a couple crucial digs and a couple of those points later in that Grand Valley game to keep it alive. So everybody played really well in my mind. I think, getting to see a lot of those reserves, getting able to have some playing time, I think is huge. It boosts confidence a little bit, and it makes your team just feel a lot better going into the postseason, knowing you got people to step up and that are ready to play.
Yeah, that's the big time thing. Shout out to me being the statistician.
He was a great statistician.
No mistakes, got it done, got it down. Saturday was a stressful day, but able to lock it up. That's what I like to see. But yeah, Purdue Northwest is a team that, it was it was a expected win. We went and did what we needed to do. But they did kind of have a little bit of fits. There were some times where it seemed like they had the momentum, but it just, I think it's just more of just a veteran team that we have. It is weird because we have a young team, but there's a lot of veteran, players that. Not a lot of veteran players, but a lot of the young people have stepped up to become like those veteran players, and that's what you like to see, especially in those situations where you might not have the momentum, might be down a little bit, but able to come back and really, really grit it out. That's what you like to see, and that's what we saw on Saturday, and hopefully we can see that against Saginaw and Davenport, and then going into GLIACs next week.
Yeah, and to finish out the Fair State Sports Report, basketball, each team was in action. Men's were at home last Saturday, taking on the Calvin Knights in a good game. I thought it was really well played overall by both teams. Calvin certainly came out with the energy, but second half was all the Dogs, and they took care of business in that exhibition. The score, it was a lot closer than the score indicated. Like, it looks like if you just looked at it, it was a blowout, but it was not a blowout whatsoever.
Yeah, near the halftime, it was tied?
Yeah, it was tied at 32. And that was from Ben Davidson's three-pointer at the buzzer to tie it up. But Dulapo Olinka definitely had a really nice game. He had 16 points to lead us. Has a transfer from Northern. Certainly seeing him immediately making an impact is certainly good for him. Dang Ring scored, I believe he had 11 points as well off the bench. Good to see him back, as well as we had a little bit of, I wouldn't call it like iffy shooting nights. We didn't shoot the best, but we made a lot of clutch plays when we needed to. I think Mikhail Bingham had some really nice dunks on some alley-oops to get the momentum going defensively. And just showed we have a really deep team this year. We have a lot of good numbers that we can throw at different teams.
Yeah, and I think too the big question on a lot of people's minds, especially a lot of people that are thinking GLIAC-wise, it's like, Walt was the guy last year. So it's kind of the main thing was who's going to replace Walt. But I think the thing is the team has. We've had guys step up in ways that, especially if you look at, what was it? I think it was right before the Canada trip. Bronx was saying, we've had guys step up where they're not usually stepping up, just into different roles and stuff. And I think especially seeing this game, not the greatest performance the first half, but be able to step it up and score, 53 points in the second half really shows that the team has some really good resiliency and has a lot of guys who can step up in different ways. Jimmy was kind of moving the ball a little bit better. Ethan was hitting some very clutch threes. Dolapo, he was a guy who was bringing the energy. He was getting after it every time there was a big play. He was out there, getting the guys going, which is something that you really want to see. And one thing that's going to be very valuable as the season goes on, when it kind of gets to the nitty gritty, where you might have 2 games, you might have a couple of games in a couple days, but that's going to be something that's going to be very, very valuable as the season goes on.
Yeah, for sure. The women's were also in action, taking on Toledo, who is pretty much the leading candidate in the MAC conference. So don't look at the score sheet and say that our team is bad. Please don't, because that team is really good, and the MAC usually has some very, very good basketball teams. And the fact is that they are the leader to win that conference entirely. So definitely a tough task, and the Toledo went right from the jump. On their home court, I think it was 24-4 they rattled off. But then from there, it was pretty much knotted up for the majority of the game. But I think it's definitely one of those, you get the rust off, you move on. It's just a game. And it's really going back. It's hard to get back to competition sometimes. And it just takes time. That's why you have exhibitions. That's why you have preseason play. So you can really get that rust off, get everybody kind of get in that mood of playing again. And it certainly will pay its dividends later in the season when they start up this next weekend. But I think overall, You saw a lot of players stepping up in different roles. Like you see potential bigger roles for like Grace Sullivan as well. Transfer Kenzie Bowers had some big crucial plays in that game, especially defensively. But I think you definitely have a lot of new talent coming in. So seeing how that team fits, going to take some time to mold it into a well-defined machine, Joe.
Yeah, I didn't even know Kenzie Bowers transferred. She was lights out at Kent City.
She was.
She was insane at Kent City.
Yeah, I believe
that's a big time transfer
from Northern Illinois, right?
Illinois State.
Or Illinois State, that's right.
We had some pretty good transfers, not gonna lie.
No, yeah, this team is talented. Like I said, it's just gonna take time to mold it out because we really had a long run of having the Andersons as well as a couple other key players last year, senior-wise, with like Samantha Krause. So filling those roles, and it's going to take some time now that you have quite a few transfers coming in. So just being able to see where that personnel fits, as well as seeing a lot of these freshmen coming in, and some of them are going to play crucial playing time. So you got to just see where this team is at, go from there, and then they'll be back in action next weekend against Ohio Dominican, as well as the men will be playing at Chrysler against the University of Michigan this upcoming Friday. So this should be fun to see how those teams stack up in the overall preseason exhibition game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's Ferris State Sports Report. When we come back, more here on the MBSP. Are you a Ferris State student interested in getting into audio production, music, podcasting, or even DJing? Bulldog Radio could be the place for you, with plenty of opportunities and hands-on experience within not only these realms, but the marketing and social media opportunities outside. Join us to have your voice heard. No other place than Bulldog Radio.
Welcome back from the break, everybody. Gonna hop into some NBA talk now.
Ooh.
Gonna be talking about the Pistons as well as just kind of the NBA as a whole, getting this season started. Brandon, Pistons are looking not the best. I will say that, not the best, but we could be doing better. Hey, it happens, right?
It happens.
That's what you see about Detroit sports in general. Don't always have the greatest start, but hey, we'll see where it goes. I'll just be a sad Pistons fan this year. Well,
No, Joe. Hold on. We're only 8 games in. Don't cry.
Season's over.
Don't cry.
Season's over.
Okay, get out. No, I'm just kidding. 2-6. Not great. But if you watch some of the way we've played these games, it's promising. We almost beat.
I'm hearing is 75-6.
We almost beat Milwaukee 2 nights ago, and then we're gonna play them again, and that was at Milwaukee. So there's a lot of promise when you look at it in that perspective. I was able to watch parts of this game with my buddy Dan. Shout out. But they saw a lot of great things. Bogdanovich looks like an absolute steal. We just locked him up. I mean, that guy can score it from anywhere, and he's the perfect stretch 4 wing that we really kind of need. I wouldn't maybe call him a stretch 4, but he's the perfect overall flexible utility scoring forward that we've been looking for. That's probably the best way to put it. Jaden Ivey's still kind of getting a little bit acclimated to.
I think you just got to give him time. You know?
Yeah. The problem is, like, he's such an explosive player. Sometimes he's too explosive. He's too fast. And that's sometimes forces turnovers. And that's not that's something he'll get used to over time.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's just gonna be the rookie thing.
Right.
He'll get used to it.
Yes, you see, it's the big you watch the way Cade plays, and then you watch the way Ivy plays. Ivy is where Cade was last year. He's trying to make plays. He knows that he's the star in the system. He's the new big man of the backcourt. He's trying to make a lot of plays, and sometimes he's just trying to force too much. And that'll come with time, obviously. Jalen Duren looks really good. Stu's been up and down. I think he's had some good games, and then he's had some not so good games. And especially with Nerlens Noel coming back, I'll be very interested to see how that kind of shakes out when Duren gets back on the floor again, because Duren's played really well, and he's the youngest man on this roster at 18 years old. So it's going to be time to grow for him. And then we still don't have a couple guys that haven't played yet, like Alec Burks, who could be a big-time scorer for us off the bench, as well as a couple other guys that we'd like to see back on the floor, like Bagley at some point will be back. It was unfortunate to see him come out early this season, or go down, I should say, this season. And then obviously Sadiq has been a little up and down, but if we just get these guys locked in, and I think the biggest thing too is I think defensively we've had some great effort, I would say, but you could definitely tell overall rebounding wise and defensively we need a little bit of help. I think we're ranked 16th overall in rebounds.
Yeah. I don't know if Beef Stew is getting it done in the center spot.
Yeah, and it's not like a knock against him, but I mean, just frankly, a lot of the other guys are bigger dudes than Stu is. And, I mean, Stu's 6'8", 250. He's a
Yeah,
big guy. He hustles.
But it's just small ball, you got guys guys in the East who are 7 foot almost. I mean, you got what is it? I can't even think of his name.
Who are you thinking of? Oh, Embiid?
Yeah.
Oh, that guy?
Yeah, I don't even know why I couldn't think of his name.
That guy, yeah.
Embiid there, you got, especially with Celtics I can't even think of any NBA players right now. I have them in my mind. I have their faces in my mind. I just can't think of any. Regardless, East has a lot of big men who can really bully him around. If he's 6'8", 250, that's really playing small ball. There's a lot of forwards who are that height. So he's really just using his his strength to be able to move him around. But sometimes strength doesn't always beat height.
Right.
It doesn't always work like that. So it'll kind of be the same thing. I think if we just really start to push to get a bigger guy. I mean, plus he's he's only 21 right now, so he does have time to develop, but I think you just got to find a guy who's going to be like a big threat in the middle, especially for rebounds, and then try to move him to more of like a power forward spot.
Yeah, you could definitely see that. And I mean, he's been working on his shot too, but no, I'd agree with you. I mean, especially 2 nights ago when they played Milwaukee, Brook Lopez had his night against all of our bigs overall. And then you got other guys like Al Horford as well as Joel Embiid, Nikola Vucevic in Chicago, Miles Turner in Indiana. You have a lot of these other players that they can ball from the 5 spot, and it's really tough for him just being in that position because I think, and it's hard because I feel like everybody's against him a little bit too because, I mean, we have Duren. Duren looks like a stud, but he's just super young, super raw. And then, obviously, you got Nerlens Noel, who's a very, very solid fundamental player. It's just kind of hard for him to find the mix, and he does it. He finds that with his energy. I mean, his energy is unmatched. I mean, he literally tried to fight LeBron, for Pete's sake. Like, that dude doesn't need any extra motivation. But I just think overall with the way that this team has looked, I think there's still some things that this team can improve on, and that's just, fortunately, one of the categories is they've given up too many rebounds this season.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's definitely a tough scenario. I mean, especially playing on the road. Haven't won a road game yet, and that's super hard when you're 0-4, and then you're playing a bunch of these road games to start the season. But I think there's definitely some room for improvement, and I think it's just simply we got to catch some of these teams on not their greatest night at the moment, but once the time will come, then we can start beating some teams and start making some noise because we have a lot of great talent on this Pistons squad. And I know Coach Weaver's, or I should say not Coach Weaver, Coach Casey's going to put guys in the right spot. He's starting to really kind of move guys around a little bit as far as taking some guys out of the lineup and not playing them as much, some of them playing more. So kind of fine-tuning the personnel, which will obviously change as the game goes by. But I think definitely this team, I think statistically, if I'm not wrong, has played better on rest anyway. Yeah, with at least a day of rest, we right now are sitting at 2-3 as opposed to back-to-backs we're 0-3. That's a very interesting stat that I just found. But I think definitely when we play better, it's on nights that we can score the basketball, we can move in transition after getting a really clutch box out and a rebound.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just the rebound part of it. Not our limiting second chances for other offenses is going to be a big thing because, I mean, when we played the Warriors, all of our starting 5 was over 20 points. I mean, Bojan was close to 30. Cade was close to 30. Jaden Ivey was, nearing 20, wasn't he? He was like at 15 or something. Or was he over 20? I can't remember. But either way, we have the ability to score, and we have the ability to put points up on the board. It's not one of those things where we're kind of struggling to do that. We've been averaging close to, $115, $120 each game. I don't think we had a game where we've scored less than 108 points is our least one. But when we have the situation where we can't really keep the ball out of the opposing offense's hands when we're on defense, and we got to really try to push for that. That's going to be the big problem because when you have teams like the Hawks who have elite scorers, when you play teams like Warriors or the Bucks, who we did play the other day, it's going to be tough. And the Bucks are going to be a team that's going to be probably running the East this year. I mean, when you lose to the Knicks by 27 or 24 points, that's not always the best thing. Knicks are kind of still in the rebuild. They're kind of on the cusp, I feel like, so you make that decision, but when you're losing to the Pacers as well and the Wizards by so many points, it's just tough looks.
It is tough looks, but there's been some other teams that have had some tough looks so far this season as well. I mean, hey, we're tied with the Brooklyn Nets right now.
Yes,
so
sir.
We are basically the favorite to win the whole no, I'm just kidding. Probably not, but play-in I don't think is out of the question as of yet. Obviously, we'll see 10, 20 games later in the season. But Milwaukee looks incredible. They look just like they were last year. A very, very, very good team. Cleveland looks very good. I mean, the moves they made in the offseason have really paid some dividends with Donovan Mitchell as well. As all, just having all those guys, Darius Garland, that crew, they got a really nice rotation going. Boston, Toronto, Atlanta, Philadelphia, they all look like good teams despite the records being a little lower. Obviously, the Miami Heat and Brooklyn Nets are the notables that have dropped down the list a little bit. Maybe you could consider Charlotte, but Charlotte I think was about the same as they were last year. As far as the Western Conference, Phoenix is pretty much the team to beat at the moment. Golden State hasn't started off the best. I mean, obviously, we're not worried for them yet, as well as Utah notoriously winning a lot of games early. San Antonio has jumped out a little bit. That's a team that's notable in my mind. Denver's a team that started off pretty all right. They're still getting a lot of their players back from injury last season, so they're still working back into that process. But Dame Time, he's got Portland in second right now, 5-1 to start the year. And the most notable out of all of it, there is not a Los Angeles, or I believe there's not a California team in the entire NBA that has a winning record right now.
Really?
Clippers are 3-4. Golden State's 3-5. Sacramento's 2-4. The Lakers are 1-5.
Dude,
Isn't
Lakers
that
are almost
nuts?
as bad as the
I don't know
Pistons right now.
Has that ever happened before, honestly?
I cannot even remember the last time that's happened.
All four California
Especially
teams.
the Lakers.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Yeah. Did you see
I mean, surprising, but also not surprising at the same time.
Oh, yeah. When you see how bad they've shot the three ball, you can definitely understand why this team is 1-5. It's atrocious. They're actually second to last. I just checked this. Second to last in points per game. In all the NBA. 105.3. The Pistons are 26th, and they haven't scored much. They have the fifth most rebounds. 46.5. That's fifth best in the NBA, and they do not have a top 10, not even a top 15 scoring season so far.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Like, they're getting the looks, but they can't score. And that's a problem when you have high-powered scorers on offense with LeBron and Anthony Davis, as well as like other specialist guys like Dennis Schroeder as well. You got me brought in Lonnie Walker. They have a good defensive team. They do. They've only allowed 110 points per game in the league. That's top 10. But they can't score offensively. They cannot score offensively. It is a problem. When you got Patrick Beverley, when you got Anthony Davis, you got a lot of these really good defensive players, rim protectors, but they don't have a guy that can score the basketball. And that's a problem. So where they're going to find that scoring is something that we're going to have to follow all season long because, frankly, that's what's really setting this team back so far. They got to figure it out. And until then, they're going to probably sit at the bottom of the league and look like they're going to bust out once again.
Yeah, that's going to be one thing, especially with what you've been seeing so far. Defensively, they're fine, but, dude, it's just weird seeing that one of LeBron's team is so bad.
Yeah. You don't normally see this too often.
Yeah, you don't normally equate LeBron James with a 1-6 team, but here we are.
Yeah, here we are. I mean, I think they play the Pelicans tonight, who are 4-2 on the season, so we'll see if they can get a win there. But anyway, moving on over past NBA, a lot of season to go. I mean, obviously, it's been a good start. This is my favorite time of year because we literally have sports every day for every team, any place, anytime, anywhere. So it's super fun to see what NBA's back, Chel's back, MLB's in the World Series, NFL is going on, college football is in prime peak season, and I mean here on campus, I mean we got almost 7-8 sports going on right now at once simultaneously. I mean that's just bonkers to me. But anyway, moving on over now, Live Golf has made some noise recently, and it has certainly been interesting to see how this season has gone for them as opposed to the PGA Tour. And I think this was
a bit of beef going on right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of beef going, Joe. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, BMW Classic. There's some players that were interviewed on the PGA side that were kind of talking about. It was Rory, and a couple other guys who were talking about, why they don't want live golfers at it because, especially seeing, it's a situation where it was kind of like what was it? The Scottish Open or something like that. I can't remember. But a lot of these guys don't want live golfers to be at the tournaments they're playing at, mainly because of the difference, and as well as they just don't agree with what live golf is doing right now. And I don't agree with live golf either, because they say, hey, it's to grow the game, but if you're just basically saying, hey, these guys are just playing for money, not for the love of the game, it's basically you're just sport washing it away, because you're not really actually growing the game. You're just tossing money at these guys to make money for your own thing. And Greg Norman as well. It makes no sense, because if you're going to offer these guys, if you're going to offer Tiger Woods $800 million, if you're going to offer Phil Mickelson upwards of $250, $300 million to not even shoot par for his first like 7 or 8 tournaments that he's ever played in, these guys don't have any reason to play good. You're already tossing out money for them. To grow the game, you want to show kids and you want to show people that, hey, these guys are playing to compete. Especially with the PGA Tour, you got guys who are trying to make the cut. You're trying to qualify for the Masters. You're trying to qualify for other things. Live Golf is a 54-hole tournament each week. Each player, even last player, gets a guaranteed payout. A lot of these guys are saying, hey, we're playing to grow the game. You're not playing. You're playing because it's just a pretty paycheck each week that you're getting. You're not doing it for anything else. And for these players that like want to play in these situations, like if you wanted to play in PGA Tour events and if you want to make that push forward or play against these PGA players, join the PGA again. Leave Live Golf, because it's not anything to do with you want to, get that back and want to be able to, play competitive golf. You just want to just get your paycheck and you want to have things go back to the way it was. It's not because you want to make it golf competitive or grow the game. It's because you're pretty greedy and that's all you really want.
Yeah.
So I'm on the side of PGA Tour players.
Oh, I didn't even notice. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I'm also, I think, on that side a little bit. And I think here's the biggest problem I have with Live. And, I mean, the money obviously is probably the most debated topic, obviously, because there's so much of a range in differential overall between the two that there has to be discussion about that gray area in the middle. But I think the biggest thing for me is when it comes to the overall fan pleasurable, yeah, they're trying to make it very fun, but the problem is they've split out the best popular top-tier golfers in the world.
Yeah.
So now where you only get to see half of them in one tournament at a time.
Yeah, you're not even seeing that much.
Yeah, so that's where I'm kind of like, I wanted to go back to like the mortgage next year, and I wanted to be able to see guys like DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy, Phil Mickelson, Jordan Spieth, all those guys compete together, and now I'm only going to see about half of them, and it's really going to be, frankly, it's really Rory and the rest, to be honest. And there's obviously some other big names in there too. But, I mean, out of the guys I just mentioned, Dustin Johnson, he's at Live. DeChambeau, he's at Live.
Mm-hmm. Cam
Mickelson,
Smith,
he's at Live. Cam Smith is supposed to be at Live.
Yeah.
Like, it's really tough to watch a lot of these guys, like, that have won PGA Championships, Majors, Masters, all of these top-tier PGA events not at these events anymore, and for especially the viewers, now they have to really make a decision on where to go with, because at the end of the day, I mean, if they're trying to really grow golf, they want to have the best golfers in the same place at the same time so you can watch all of them play. But you don't have that, because now it's divided, and it's frankly probably never going to come together the way that these two leagues have really bickered at each other. It's really not going to get better.
It never will, because here's the thing. You have both of these tours who, especially with Live Golf, they're not earning official world golf ranking points right now. So a lot of these players who are winning tournaments and playing well on Live side, they're not really getting anything to show for it. That's why Rory's number 1 in the world right now, because Cam Smith isn't earning anything right now. Nobody else is. And a lot of those guys are complaining about it on Live because they're not. It's like Bubba Watson was complaining about it because he should be near the top, or like he's playing pretty well, but he's not earning anything because it's not a PGA sanctioned event. That sucks. Shouldn't have done the easy payout. Bubba Watson was maybe top 50, if I can't remember, or he wasn't anywhere near the top, but he wasn't anywhere near the bottom. Like, he was a very good golfer, and he would be able to compete in a lot of the tournaments on the PGA Tour. But he took the easy payout to go play Live because he knows that he's not going to be able to make that money on the PGA Tour anymore because he's starting to go down and not be in his prime years anymore. It's annoying, and especially for Cam Smith too. It's like, oh, you wish you could get the recognition you deserve? Stay with the PGA Tour. You are making easily a couple mil a tournament, so you want to just get an easy payout and catch a quick buck. It's annoying because, like, if I was in that situation, I feel like I would probably take money. But also, if you're going to complain about why you're not getting the recognition you deserve, you're reaping the benefits that you're basically, the crops that you planted are the ones that you're reaping right now. And that's the annoying part, is because they're complaining about it, and it's like you put yourself in this situation to the point where you're not getting recognition for it. So I don't understand why they're complaining, because now the depth of both of the tours are lacking, and the people who are suffering the most are the fans, and the people who they're trying to grow the game of golf for are the people that you're affecting the most directly.
Yeah. The thing with the PGA Tour that sticks out, they're all about really two things, tradition and legacy, right? It's the game of golf that has been played since the 1900s. It's the same, but obviously in a more modern format. But I think with the biggest thing that I think a lot of these people saw when Live really came about was it's boring. And that's not like a bad thing.
It just sucks, dude. It sucks.
Yeah, the thing is, our generation of all of our people on this planet are so used to modern, new, efficient, technologically advanced, exciting, because we can create it, right? I mean, we have some of the biggest innovation periods in the whole universe coming in the last 20 years of what we've been able to produce. Now, when you bring that to a sport like golf, which isn't really the same in being a sport that wants to continuously build and technologically grow, it's very traditional based. Obviously, you have all of these clubs now that are being like engineered a little bit different ways to be more explosive, so you can see farther drives, and you can see a lot of these cool, really good spin shots, so you can kind of bring that into the game. But it's just so ingrained into the way that it was played beginning, the tradition of the legacy of how it was played, when our ancestors all had wooden clubs and were out walking the course, compared to now with us using these huge titanium drivers with golf carts. We bring the modernness into it, but it doesn't stick the same. And the only people that really truly appreciate it are the ones that are out on the links every day or follow it like it's the NFL. It's really not as appealing to somebody. You're not going to have, like, here's the example I can make. You have your group of like 5 friends that you want to come over to watch a sporting event. None of them know anything about sports altogether. Are you bringing them to watch the Masters, or are you bringing them to watch the Super Bowl? You obviously know which one they're going to want to do first, right? And that's because one's more appealing than the other in the world we live in right now. And that's just the way it is. So they try to bring Live in to try to make it different. I mean, what's their golf but louder is like their motto or tagline or whatever.
It is.
It's just louder golf. It's like, I don't really know what that means, for example, because my argument is how much more modern can you make it is my question. Because obviously, like, they're doing concerts and stuff going into the tournament.
What are they gonna
they're bringing around it,
what
but
else are they
that's not the same as golf.
Yeah, they're trying to make it, I don't know. It gets to a point where, like, you don't want it to be a spectacle. To me, and I know a lot of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people share the same opinion. It's like, I want to watch the game of golf because I understand how hard it is to get good at it.
Oh, yeah.
But the annoying part is when you have guys who are just playing for the trophy instead of the benefits that come with that trophy, it becomes such a washed tournament and such a washed event that it makes no sense to watch it. You look at these PGA qualifying events, you got amateurs who are playing their hearts out to be able to get that PGA Tour Pro card.
Yeah.
You got guys who are trying to qualify for the Masters, the Open, stuff like that are trying to really do well in those, so that way, one, they can win the prize money. Yep. 2, they can able to get, a situation where they can get publicity, so that way they can get, endorsement deals, stuff like that.
Yep.
That's the positives of the PGA Tour. Live Golf, you just have a bunch of guys from Saudi Arabia who are billionaires that are just saying, here, take my money. Oh, you want $800 million? That's just pocket change to me. You come play on my tour, and I'll just keep on the paycheck each week if you just keep playing here. It makes no sense to me, and I don't like Live Golf at all. It does not. They say it's going to grow the sport, but I feel like it's going to be even worse because it's just going to show people that, like, we're not really here to actually play. We're here because we get money, and then we're just going to be golfers.
We have heard that story before. This one thing called the XFL.
Yeah.
This was almost not the same, but a very similar situation to what I see is going to happen with Live Golf. They bring in the idea of having more intense, fan-friendly, as far as viewing-wise, obviously, a brand of football that's more hits, more fun, a lot more intense, but there's enough to the point where it's too much.
Yeah,
this feels like a very similar scenario with how Liv is going out, and to be frank, I don't think it's going to last.
No, it's not. I'd say give it 3 years max, and then you're gonna see that like their viewership is gonna tank. I've never seen a Liv thing on TV. I see PJ only. That's the only thing that's like pushed.
I think you can watch it on YouTube Live, actually.
Oh,
YouTube, we're part of it. Yeah,
YouTube Live. That's the coolest thing ever.
I don't know.
Who watches YouTube Live?
Nobody.
Nobody watches live streamers on YouTube.
I don't know.
Either way, Live Golf is terrible for the game of golf. I'm just going to be honest. It's terrible. Whatever it is, it just doesn't make sense because you're teaching people, hey, be a cop-out for the money is what it is. If you get a little bit of money, sure, you can sacrifice some of your morals. Sure, you can sacrifice a little bit of what you worked for all these years. Hey, you might be making a lot of money, but not everyone's going to like you. But that's okay because you're making millions and millions of dollars. That doesn't sit well with me. 2, you have guys that are complaining about, hey, I made this decision. I'm getting punished for it. Why? You know exactly why. Because it's it gets annoying because they're finally seeing the reactions to their actions and they don't like them. So then they're going to start complaining. And then it's just going to get to that point where they're just going to keep on complaining, and that's the annoying thing about it.
And then they're going to try to get back on the tour.
That's exactly what's going to happen. And you know what you got to say? No. Kick him to the curb.
Which
sucks because I liked Phil Mickelson, but now that he joined Liv and stuff like that, and he's just been playing bad, and he's been like an advocate for it, I don't really like Phil Mickelson that much anymore. I don't really like Cam Smith that much anymore. I don't like Dustin Johnson that much anymore because it's like, oh, it's just for the money. I don't like Brooks anymore because he did that. It's just guys who are a cop out for the money that I just don't appreciate.
And you're not the only one. There's people that feel the exact same way. Then they feel the opposite. They feel Liv is the future and the PGA is going to die.
There's no shot that the PGA will ever die. The PGA has been around for way too long.
It has, but,
people don't like new things.
You never know.
We've told people like, as much as people say, people like the old ways. It's just going to stay the same. PGA is just going to grow. I feel like, especially with this Live Golf stuff, PGA has gotten a lot more publicity, and you've been seeing that.
Oh, that's true. I think it almost is helping them a little bit.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how this goes forward and how the future of Live Golf certainly lives out. That was a good combo.
Yeah,
I really liked getting that out. We needed to bring that up.
Live Golf sucks.
Yeah. Joe doesn't like it. I don't like it either. I don't know why I just said Joe, but it's division of leagues doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's not going to last
We've
forever.
seen it with the XFL. We've seen it with whatever it was. The AFL or whatever it was. And I forget what it was.
The AFL NFL merger back in, 60?
No, not that.
Something?
It was the thing over COVID where like right before COVID hit, it was like the
fan-controlled football?
Well, that one also sucked. But like it's just seen, especially nowadays, people are set in the ways of what they want. USFL. That's what
you're talking about.
People are set in their ways of what they want to watch for sports, and introducing new things is not going to work.
Yeah, there needs to be
especially with the morals and basis of the Live Golf does not make any sense.
Yeah, it's a little golf but louder. I don't picture golf as loud.
Golf is a quiet sport.
Yeah, I like to go out and play by myself, have my thoughts, and of course sometimes bad thoughts.
When I think of golf,
but it's fun.
I don't think of Live Golf. I think of Tiger at the Masters when he made the chip in and everyone went crazy. That's what I think of.
That's what.
And that's
it
PGA.
Should be louder.
That's PGA, and it should be louder, but it should be for the right reasons. So.
Yes, I like the way you worded that. But
exactly.
Anyway, good conversations, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and follow us on all of our podcast platforms. You can check out the link tree. Platform podcasts, whatever that thing is. You can find all that on our link tree, all of the podcast informations and more for that. So another great episode, Joe.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody.